All right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. In fact, it is the final review session for the season. So,
Woo!
yep, 4 games up this week, 3 reviews, 1 impressions, and it's one of those weeks, like where things get clunky with the titling, both in speech and in text. But anyway, so first up here is Ario. At least I think that's how it's pronounced. Like, it's something from a foreign language, so, sometimes we just have to work with our best guess here. Anyway, Ario, a fantasy land plagued by nightmares. A common lad trying to rescue his missing mother and the evil forces conspiration to be unveiled. Oh boy,
Here in machine
I see we're going to have
translation,
some
friends.
of these sentences. Yep. Anyway, join Ario in this thrilling adventure where your crossbow and skills will determine the fate of your people. That's a lot of pressure. Yeah. Anyway, Ario will start a journey to rescue his missing mother from a land plagued by nightmares and curses, only to find himself immersed in a battle for his life against powerful dark forces. Join him along the way as he faces plenty of challenges and hazards, fights demons and mechanic enemies, explores abrupt cliffs. Okay, the translating is going
I
downwards
shouldn't be
again.
laughing at this because English is probably not their native language, obviously, but
No, okay. Having mechanic enemies instead of mechanical, that's a fairly, that's something I'd expect. I'm like, abrupt cliffs, that's like, okay, did you get a thesaurus wrong or something? Like,
fair.
abrupt cliffs, like, anyway.
If a cliff isn't abrupt enough, we just call it a hill.
Shut up, Golex.
And meets new allies and foes in an epic journey for revenge. Learn more about the secrets of his past, his land, and the whereabouts of his mother in this vibrant 2.3 action adventure with touches of tower defense and Metroidvania.
You want to run that back to me one more time? 2.3?
2.5 action adventure.
Okay, yeah, it sounded like you said 2.3. I'm like, oh, what the fuck?
Also, I feel like Metroidvania and tower defense are pretty diametrically opposed in terms of what you're doing, unless they mean unless they mean a Metroidvania with tower defense mini games.
I'm like, they mean neither. I'll get into it. Like, neither genre description here works. Like,
fun.
We're mastering the crossbow, the environment, and the skills will determine the fate of your people. I'm like, anyway, so Ario, yeah, like, I don't know why they're billing itself as a like Metroidvania or with touches of Metroidvania. No, it's like, if you want, like, the closest cousin that this thing has is Prince of Persia. Not so much the old ones. Think like the Sands of Time, only 2D, 2.5D. It's calling itself that because
that allegedly actually is a Metroidvania.
Yeah. Though I don't think it was taking direct inspiration from that, though it was definitely cribbing from the Tombs of the Persian Prince, because they have an achievement mentioning Prince of Persia. So, they know where their bread's buttered. Like, and of course it's calling itself 2.5D because it's doing the, polygonal graphics on a 2D plane.
Yeah, it's the same as Kirby 64.
Yeah. I'm like, only things are a lot flatter. It's like the camera is, isn't all that dynamic.
That's why I was comparing it to Kirby 64.
Fair. Anyway, so calling this thing any kind of Metroidvania, like, it might be because you get upgrades, but no, like, progression here is completely linear. It's like, it's not a connected world. It's level by level, and the levels are pretty distinct. You know, it's like, you'll hit a new level when your ammo refills. Like, and as far as tower defense, just no. Oh ye gods, no. That crossbow mini game that they have in this, I'm like, at no point is this an actual tower defense. Like, I kind of see in the margins what they were going for, because, you've got to mow down some soldiers in a amount of time, but it's like, everything's literally on slow motion, and also you can guide the arrows. Here's the thing: like, actual tower defense is automatic, and that's more about the grander strategy of where to place your turrets and shit. Anyway, so yeah, this is primarily a 2.5 platformer. So with that out of the way, how does it fare? So my feelings on this were almost complicated. Like, that is because it did most of the fundamentals all right. Like, the gameplay here is basic, but it was serviceable up to a point. I'm like, and that point is a lack of polish. Like, this game really suffers from just coming across as very slipshod. It's like, in fact, I wouldn't be surprised that's why the reason why it wasn't agreeing with Pettyfan's computer or his controller. Because this game feels very rough. Like, not so much in the actual game feel. Like, the actual moment-to-moment gameplay is, it was solid enough for me to put, a few hours into this. The problems are more things like the jumping being unresponsive. Like, there were times when I'd hit the jump button and the Viz account would refuse to jump. Like, or something like that. Or not a good example of how unpolished this game is, not having full controller support, even though they say they have full controller support. Because one of the major attack moves was not grafted onto my Xbox controller. Like, the stomp.
Did it have mapping options?
I'm like, not really, not in-game. And I'm not sure out-of-game would have helped. But let me get to my point here. Like, because the dash was mapped to the X, the bow and arrow, like, right bumper. And the stomp was grafted to the control button. So that's what I'm getting at.
The keyboard really control button, right? Not something else, right?
Yeah, it's like, it's a very clear oversight.
Mm-hmm.
because everything else is grafted to the controller, but this move, like it just says the control button, and I tried all of the buttons. Like there's not that many buttons on the Xbox controller here,
right,
compared to a keyboard at least. So, and none of them did the stomp. Like, thankfully, I didn't have to use that outside of, when I was told to use it that one time to show that I have this move. Or at least that was something that, it does do the Metroid thing of you have all your moves and powers, and then they get taken away.
Mm.
I'm like, not that it mattered all that much, truth be told, because, I figured if I had gotten the stomp again, they would have had me use it more. I'm like, anyway, that's just kind of an example of some, that is a clear oversight that would have been caught with a proper amount of QA. And that's what this game is really suffering from. In fact, that is the reason why I stopped playing. Because I got up to a boss, and he would teleport in, but he would literally disappear. And it kept happening. Once again, that's the big problem with this game. It needs to go back to QA for some serious retesting. Because that kept happening every time I came back into the chamber. So, I could go on about, the, other bits and bobs about the game, but I think that this is far enough. Because, like I said, there's a decent game here. It's nothing amazing. Like, if it were properly play tested and polished and all of that stuff, I'd say this would be a perfectly average game. But, with all these technical problems and oversights and, just the rough edges, they're not charming. They're frustrating to literally game-breaking. And I have no idea if there are patch plans for this. Like, keep in mind, this game has been out a month, and this shit is still broken.
And I haven't seen anything that looked like any activity from the devs.
Yeah. So we review games as we get them, when we get them. With that in mind, yeah, this is actually one of the shittier games I played this year. Which is unfortunate because I was actually kind of enjoying it until, the technical bugs and shit appeared. Because it controls decently. The arrow mechanics, they're a bit clunky on a controller, but that's mainly due to analog sticks hypersensitivity versus a mouse. I had the same problem in Trine, what the arrow mechanics remind me of, only not as good. Mainly because there's limited ammo, and when you are locked into a shot, you are locked in. You can't not fire the arrow or bomb arrow. Yeah, that was a bit of a design frustration.
I vaguely remember you yelling about that.
Yeah. but point is that's more a legitimate design kerfuffle versus once again the game breaking down repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, in the interest of obligation, this game is retailing for $13, $12.99. Like, it doesn't matter what price point it's going for, because this game is broken enough where I have to say avoid it. Avoid it until it gets fixed, if it ever gets fixed. If they fix the bugs, especially the game breaking one I encountered, then I'd say maybe, like, once again, on balance, this is an okay game. It's just plagued by a slipshod amount of polish, which could be due to any number of things. Another good example of this, there is a distinct lack of subtitles in this game. And here's the thing. They didn't forget to put them in. It's just, when I played this game, they just mainly didn't work, except for one cutscene when all of a sudden the subtitles kicked in. And it's also, you need the subtitles because this game is in some language. I'm not exactly sure which one. I'm not exactly sure what language is being used here. It was one that was pretty unfamiliar to my ear. But here's the thing, like, that's the default. I didn't see any options for, like, English dub, which is not a surprise. This game looks fairly low budget. I'm not saying that as a smack against it. It's just, it is what it is, kind of deal. That's kind of why subtitles are important, because I literally could not understand what was going on outside of, this game having a pretty basic plot, and I can get the gist of it. Like evil, it's like we're not dealing with any sort of grand adventure or JRPG or anything. So it wasn't that big of a detractor. But it definitely is a case of, what are you saying? So,
and I am generally failing to find a location for this Vata Game Studio to be based. So
yeah, I'm like I'm suspecting somewhere in Eastern Europe, maybe. I have no idea. Like, that is just my first guess. But anyway, point of order is avoid this game. It's too fucking broken to be worthwhile. And honestly, there are too many other games out there that aren't, this. Busted.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually been a while since we've got a game that's been technologically broken.
Yeah.
I mean, that we actually got to review.
Right.
Fair.
We've had a few that you've
this game,
they wouldn't work.
Yeah. I mean, the game worked well enough to where I could review it. I got through it enough.
And I guess if the premise looks interesting you, at least follow it on Steam and see if the devs put out some updates. Because I imagine it's one of those, if it gets some updates, it might be worth looking at, but we can't guarantee you it'll ever see an update, so venture at your own risk.
And I'll be honest, our eyes are not going to be gazing towards Ario after this.
Yeah.
Unless the publisher accepts my interview proposal. And they have not done this yet. So, anyway, So with that in mind, that's about all I got for Ario. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Penny Fan will be reviewing Detective Montgomery Fox, The Case of the Missing Ballerinas.